Hey, Julie, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, Julie.
We should say welcome back.
Welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me. The first time was a pleasure. I'm excited to be here again.
Yeah, we're excited to have you because some things have changed since the last time you've been here. You figured some things out that you are going to share with us, and we are
Pretty excited
excited
about it.
to hear about it because you know what we've been hearing lately? A lot of people saying, man, I need some ways to make more money.
Yep.
And I can't go out and get another job because the way my situation is. I need some ways to make money from home.
Yeah.
And so guess what? Julie's going to help us figure out a little something in that realm. But for those who don't know who you are, maybe they didn't get a chance to hear your previous episode, can you just say hello to everybody that's tuned in and let them know what you are all about?
Sure. So, hi guys, I'm Julie Brenninger. I am a new mom living in Seattle, Washington. I just had my first kid 4 months ago. So I am insanely sleep deprived, but really excited. I am a super side hustler. Last time I was on your show, I was talking about paying off over $100,000 of debt. And when that finished, I kind of was saying, what's next? And that's where I found the financial independence community and started trying all of these different side hustles. So my latest and greatest is my Etsy side hustle that we're going to talk about today.
I love it. Well, tell everybody a little bit about the process. I'm assuming that you tried a lot of different side hustles until you really found your jam. Like this is your thing.
Because it's important because people try things, didn't work, and they quit.
Yeah.
You know
We've tried multiple things and it's like, no, I don't know if that'll work, but you're right. We didn't stop. We didn't quit until we found our thing. So talk about your process. Were you doing side hustling to pay off the debt or just to make extra income or both? Like talk about that process and how you landed here.
It was just to pay off. Well, it was pay off the debt. That was the start. And I did a little Craigslist paying off, and that was good. So I basically went through my house and sold everything I possibly could on Craigslist. My neighbors hated me for a while because I literally had a yard sale in front of our house every single day. But besides that,
every day or every week?
Every day.
Really?
Every day.
Wow.
This was when I moved to California and we had to downsize and nothing would fit into the apartment that we had. So I literally had it every day and people would be exchanging cash with me at all hours of the day. The neighbors were like, who is this girl that just moved in? But it was very profitable. And then I was able to actually live in my apartment and walk around. So things were good. My husband was mad about some of the things I decided to sell, but we eventually got over it. So I started there and then started to become more comfortable with online side hustles. And through my podcast, I met a woman that sells on Etsy and decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I created an Etsy shop in the bachelorette party niche because at the time I was in my late 20s. I'm 30 now, but I was going to everyone and their mother's bachelorette party. It was like a time that everyone was getting married. So I was thinking about all the money that I was spending on the doodads and the matching outfits and the decor to go to these events. And I thought, people are spending tons of money to go to these events. This is like the niche that I want to get into if I want to make money, a niche where people are spending a lot of money. So that was kind of the start of this idea.
And what were some of the things that you sold?
So I started selling temporary tattoos, and I wanted to start with a physical product because I didn't even know that digital products existed at the time. And I went on temporarytattoos.com and I uploaded a really quick design called like a bride tribe type design. And they sent me 3,000 of those tattoos. So I had them in my apartment, and actually selling tattoos is a good one to start with because I'm talking about like the temporary tattoos that little kids wear at birthday parties.
Yeah.
Well, women, when they go to bachelorette parties, love sticking them all over their face. It's like a thing where they have gold tattoos like on their arms, on their wrists, and they love them. So, and they're really cheap to manufacture. Like it was only between 6 to 20 cents per tattoo, depending on how many I bought. So because I bought 3,000, I'm getting the tattoos for like cents on the dollar, and then I can sell them for $2 each. And women, when they go to these events, they're hanging out in packs of like 15 to 20 other girls. So they're making a $20 purchase pretty much every time they buy my tattoo set. And from a design perspective, I mean, people aren't expecting that much because it's a tattoo. So I literally just wrote the word bride tribe with like a cool font and got it printed. So I was feeling like really like smart, but actually like having a business and like having to maintain inventory and shipping stuff was not my cup of tea when I already had a blog and a podcast and then I had a full-time job at the same time. So every morning I would wake up and I would check my Etsy app because Etsy has a seller's app, and I would see if I got an order, and then I'd be really excited, like, oh, okay, like great, like this is like $20 today. But then I would think, oh, like I have to print this out and I have to put it in an envelope and I have to go to the post office. And it just became like one more thing that I had to worry about that would kind of stress me out. And customers really care if you ship their orders out on time. Like they don't care that you're like a side hustler. They think it's just like Amazon or Etsy or any of these huge websites where like, oh, where's my order? So if you're even like a day or two late, you could get a bad review, and getting like a 1-star review could really hold your shop back in terms of growing. So I was making good money, but I was kind of like stressed out about the process.
Wow. So give everybody an idea, just even in the tattoo arena, like how much did you make on average, like monthly? Or I'm assuming that you're finished doing that. Did you sell all 3,000 of them? Like how well
No,
did it
so I
go?
still have those things in a box, and I just want to like throw them out the window sometimes. I have 2 orders right now that I need to ship out today, and I'm just thinking about like, oh, I just got to go to the post office this afternoon. I try to like guilt my husband into doing it when he goes to the gym, if he can just swing by and drop it off. But if I were a bigger seller, it would make sense for me to have the post office just come to my house and like pick up orders. But I don't always get an order every day. So it's kind of like hit or miss. I think people that are doing this as their full-time job, it's like more of a thing. Whereas for me as a side hustle, it's just like one more thing to think
So
about.
it's just like a few $100s, maybe a month or something like that. It's a
Yes. Yeah.
side. So it's still something. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yep. A few $100s a month. Like with Etsy selling, this is not like a get rich quick scheme. This is not like I'm going to make $1 million. This is like, okay, I have this goal, like maybe by the end of the year, I want to have like $3,000 or something like that to pay off a loan, or like to, fund whatever Christmas presents, an old car, like something like that. I think is a really realistic goal for Etsy. I don't think it's something that you're going to become a millionaire overnight at all.
Yeah, I have a sister personally. She was a manager for one of these major big top stores. I'm not going to name the name, but she actually came home after giving birth to, I think she gave birth to her second child by the time she came home. So they have 3 children, her and her husband. And she runs a very successful Etsy shop selling like party decor. Party decor. Like she's making like 50,000 and up a year selling party decor. All she did, she bought herself like a
naturally a crafty person.
She was naturally a crafty person. Like growing up, she would make like scrapbooks. Like she gave us a scrapbook after we gave birth to our first child and stuff like that. So she was always like creative in that sense. But all she did was like bought a circuit, cricket machine. Y'all see, I'm not crafty whatsoever. Although we have a daughter that's very crafty. And she bought one of those. And I mean, she's been doing extremely well. And I love the ability of Etsy allowing people to make a living off of it. They don't have to go to a 9 to 5 necessarily if they don't want to. And people are making a full-time living off of Etsy.
So let's talk about this. Some people are listening like, what the heck is Etsy? Why do they keep saying this word Etsy, right? And some people are like, man, yeah, I heard of Etsy, but I don't really know what Etsy is. So help us understand, what is Etsy compared to all these other platforms
like
that are out there?
Craigslist and stuff like that?
So it's a marketplace for handmade goods. It started out to be for people like you just discussed, who they're kind of crafty and they make jewelry, or they sell like these really cool hand printed scarves or something like that. And you can sell them on their platform. And if you're a buyer, you can find like some really unique things. Whereas if you went on any other marketplace, you would get something that was probably made overseas that a million other people had. But like if you go on Etsy, you can get something very unique and special that you can't get anywhere else. Now, it also allowed a lot of people who were just like crafty people to come join the industry and make more money from their art or their goods, because you're not going to make that much most likely if you go to a craft fair. But if you go on Etsy, you get access to their, I think they said 40 million buyers a year that they have right now. Wow. So it's pretty big. And right now, like they're $1 billion company, they're growing every single year. So Etsy is definitely like a thing. And for those of us that are not crafty and are not creative, there are ways that you can sell on Etsy, even if you are not one of those crafty type people.
So let's talk about that, because I'm one of those people. I'm not crafty whatsoever. I don't make hand invitations. Like, again, we have an 8-year-old daughter that is extremely artistic. And I like feel bad because I don't know how to even draw like a stick man. You know what I mean? So, or even create something like that. So talk about that, because I'm assuming, I want you to talk about more about your story, what it is that you do and what do you teach as far as on Etsy.
Sure. So one of the reasons that I chose Bachelorette is that people's expectations are way lower. And I know that sounds awful, but if I had chosen like weddings, I have to be on point. because people are paying like a lot of money and their expectations are soaring. But for bachelorette, the typical clientele is it's the sister of the bride, or it's like one of the bridesmaids, and she suddenly realizes on the Saturday before the bachelorette that the bride's going to want games or the bride's going to want tattoos, and she just buys a bunch of stuff randomly. So in terms of like their thought process, they're not expecting like something that's super, super on point. So I would recommend to anyone who doesn't feel like they're the most craftiest person, or they're worried that their first stab is just not going to be as good as it could be, pick a niche where expectations are just like a little bit more tempered than like wedding or some of the other things.
That's a very good idea. Like I never thought about that. That's a very good suggestion.
Yeah, and I was wondering, as people begin to do their research, they're probably like, okay, man, what's something that I can sell on Etsy? I was curious, like, okay, you landed on these tattoos. How did you figure out like what you should sell it for?
Category and all
You
that.
got to
Yeah.
think, profit margin. You said you're getting no cents for the dollar, but there's also, like you also talked about, shipping and things like that. So how did you formulate, okay, I can sell it at
Mhm.
this price and make some good income?
Mhm.
So the first thing I thought about was inventory, because I told you guys how our apartment in California was so small. I needed something that literally could fit like under a bed because we had no room. It was just like stuffed with like stuff everywhere. It was overwhelming. So tattoos were like a perfect thing. And I'd seen these at bachelorette parties, so I knew that they were a thing already. Um, Now, in terms of like what happened next, I actually moved from selling temporary tattoos, and I still sell them, but I moved to digital downloads. And I think that's even better. And what I'd recommend to people who are starting out, skip the physical products because they're hit or miss. Like you mentioned, failed experiments. At the time that I was doing the tattoos, my husband was trying to sell something on his own, like a physical product. He was selling a weightlifting thing, like these knee sleeves that you put on your knees when you're lifting weights. And it was a disaster. Like he ordered a $70 sample from Alibaba overseas, and it was just like a big waste of money. So I think with physical products, like I got really lucky that my first one happened to be one that was great, but you can waste a lot of money like trying to make a design and stuff like that. Digital is where it's at.
So when people might be hearing that digital product, like break that down for someone who isn't familiar with that term. Like, what exactly do you mean I should create a digital product?
So on Etsy, they also have a section where you're not actually buying anything that someone's shipping to you. You're buying something that you download on your computer. So an example could be a cleaning schedule. So a lot of people in January, they're excited for the new year. They want to get their house organized, or even spring cleaning in the spring. They may purchase somebody's digital binder of exactly what they should clean each week. Like on Monday, you clean your blinds. On Wednesday, you clean your toilet, all that stuff. And they just download it to their computer and print it out at home on their home printer. So there's this whole market for like digital products like that. It could also be a yearly planner. It could be spice labels for your house. So a lot of people like to relabel the spice rack labels. I don't know why. These people maybe don't have time or something. What's wrong with them? But yeah, they could print out a cool thing like nutmeg and a cool script and like put it around their spice rack. So it's anything that is digital. No one is shipping anything to you. You're either going to print it out on your house or you're going to use it on your computer. Like we're podcasters. Let's say that you wanted a new YouTube cover. There are people on Etsy who are selling a YouTube cover for your YouTube site, like a template that you can just put your pictures in and make it look pretty so that your YouTube page looks pretty.
Man.
It's pretty good. Like, man, I'm just sitting here thinking like, wow, we never consider Etsy. Like usually if we need something like a YouTube banner or something like that, we'll go to the other sites, but
Or call
never
or try to find a graphic designer.
exactly, never really thought about Etsy. So talk to us how you started teaching this now. You actually have an entire course, entire platform teaching people how to create printables to sell on Etsy.
So this was a little bit of a long time coming. I met a woman in the line for a taco truck at a conference. And this is where I got the idea to do printables, because we just started chatting like the whole awkward, like, what are you going to order? What are you going to order? And we ended up talking about her printables business. And she is a $100,000 a year seller who sells digital planners. Her name's Laura from iHeart Planners. So
Yes, I've heard
yeah,
of
she's
her.
been
Yes.
so inspiring. So after that, I heard that in like late 2017 and thought, I need to make this a thing. So I kept inviting people on my podcast who were selling printables on Etsy. And now, 2 years later, that I have this business in the bachelorette party niche where I'm selling printable games, I sell scavenger hunts that these bachelorette attendees will take on bar hopping events. So it'll say things like, find someone with the groom's name and take a picture, or like request single ladies at the bar, which bachelorettes love to do. So it's like a fun little game they can check off. And that game, my best selling item, has made $1,200. And all in, including the tattoos, my Etsy shop has made $6,000. And this is something where, like, if you want to be like Laura, the person I mentioned, you know, go all in on Etsy, you definitely can. But for most of us who have like full-time jobs and stuff, Etsy is a good side hustle because you can kind of just like put it off to the side sometimes, especially if you sell digital products. Like, you just need to make sure that you're complying with all their policies, you're answering customers' questions. But once you get a digital product up there, you're not like going to the post office. You're not worrying about making sure you have inventory. People are just downloading it, and it can be downloaded. Like, they let you enter 999 times.
Wow. Wow. I like what you said. For those that may be just looking for some extra cash, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
want to hit
to
some
get an
goals.
extra $1,200 a month, it's great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love that.
Beyond great.
My gosh. So talk about, how does somebody get started? So they're like, wow, I think I can do this. A digital product, I don't have to put in too much work. I don't have to ship it. How can they get started?
You're doing all this from home.
And you're doing all it from home. Once you create it once, that's it.
If you do it from your computer, and once you create it once, that's it. So you can, like, it's one of those things that you can totally scale. So for example, some people, they saw that I had the gold bachelorette printables and they said, oh, do you have pink? And honestly, the first couple customers that asked me that, I told them no, because when you do a side hustle, you can't let it like overwhelm your life. You have to just make sure it fits into your life, in my opinion, because I do so many of them. So after 5 customer requests to get pink, then I changed and I added a pink version of my printable. So you can take this, you know, as small or as high as you go. But for someone just starting out, what I would suggest to them is like, go on Etsy and start looking for printables. I bet you they either never searched on Etsy or they never saw printables. I think if they go on there, they'll get ideas of what other types of stuff sells. And then also, if they have a Pinterest account, and if they don't have one, they should create it. Pinterest and printables and Etsy go together like peanut butter and jelly. It's the same people that shop on both. And they're browsing on Pinterest. So I would type in printables into Pinterest, or different types of printables. Like, you could type in Easter printables, or 4th of July, or back to school, and see what appears, and see if anything kind of like jogs your mind of, oh, this would be a cool thing to sell. Or, you know, I forgot I totally have used this in the past.
Everyone knows why life insurance is important, but many of us choose to ignore the reality of what would happen if we were to die suddenly without proper protection. The results could be devastating for your surviving family members, leaving them with a large bill for your final expenses, or even worse, loss of the family home because they can no longer cover the mortgage.
Term life insurance gives you peace of mind at a price you can afford. Term life insurance allows you to meet your financial obligations today while still protecting your family's future tomorrow.
If you don't currently have a life insurance policy, you are not alone. According to Life Insurance Statistics and Facts, which is a report put out by the life insurance industry, about 43% of the population don't own a life insurance policy in any amount.
Wow. Buying life insurance doesn't have to be complicated. Legal & General America make it easy for you to protect your family's financial future.
As one of the nation's leaders in low-cost, high-quality life insurance to over 1.3 million families, they know how to protect you.
Legal & General America makes understanding and applying for life insurance easy. You can get a free quote by going to hisorhermoney.com/LGA. The links are also in the description box below. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, I follow some people on YouTube. They're like not like home decor, but like home organization type people. And they sell printables on Etsy as well, like things that you can put in a frame and just hang on your wall. You know, like it'll be a Christmas wreath or something. It'll say, you know, holly or whatever. And so I think that's a great idea.
So what came to my mind was, so do I need to, obviously I need to sign up for Etsy. Is there a fee that comes with that? Do I sign up because what you're teaching us is to be sellers. So is there a seller account versus a consumer account? How does that look?
Yes. And you can turn your consumer account into a seller account. The best thing about selling on Etsy is that the fees to get started are very, very minimal. So Etsy will charge you 20 cents per every item that you list. And there are a lot of links out there where you can get your first 40 listings free. It only saves you $8, but if you really do like want to try to get started as cheap as possible, then you could find one of those links by Googling it. And we have one in the course that we have.
Nice.
But when you're getting started on Etsy, you need to have your first product ready. So don't like get all excited and go to try to sign up on Etsy if you haven't created the product yet. It makes you list a product in order to open your shop.
Now, going back to us being kind of non-crafty, but not necessarily, I'm also not a designer. So
I'm not crafty, but my mind, I'm very, very creative and artistic.
Do you teach in the course, because I'm sure there's certain software that you got to use to even create the printable, and how to make it stand out,
or you can pay somebody else to make it.
Yeah, so is this something that you cover in the course?
We do, and we recommend that people start with Canva. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that program, but it's a free online design software. And a lot of people that are selling printables, they will use the Adobe products, but they're very expensive for someone new starting out. Like I pay around $600 a year for my Adobe license. I would not recommend someone who's just getting their feet wet to buy an expensive design software. You can get started with Canva. One of my best sellers was created entirely with Canva. It's totally fine. Now, the thing that you need to know when you're starting a printable shop versus just like creating stuff for yourself in a program like Canva, you need to make sure that the font and the graphics that you buy are okay for commercial use. So that's something that kind of like trips up new people. So I'll just mention it here. Make sure that you're not just like taking a font off the internet and using it in your printable, because you need to have permission to resell that printable. But luckily there are tons of websites, and we list a bunch of them in the course, where you can get graphics and fonts that are okay for you to resell.
Nice. Well, I was saying, what I was trying to say was, because I'm not crafty, but I am very artistic, or I'm creative mentally. So I think that there's a lot of people out there that are like that, right? Don't automatically cancel yourself out and say, well, I don't know how to put anything together. But if you come up with an idea, and if you don't feel comfortable with creating it, you can pay somebody else to create it.
Yep. Etsy. So with that, I've definitely done that. I've done that on Fiverr, and you just have to make sure that it's like a commissioned piece and the person doesn't sell it to anyone else, and you're not like buying someone else's template.
Exactly.
Etsy their policies, they're very strict on their policies, but like once you figure them out, you're okay. But you just need to do a little bit of research starting out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a brother that's creative. He can draw, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, hey, we can give him an idea and he can create something for us, and it'll be ours. So I love that.
What are some other things that you have seen people do incorrectly when trying to create a successful side hustle on Etsy?
I think you definitely want to get a bunch of listings up, but don't rush through it. And also try to pick something that's a little bit less high stakes at the beginning. Like don't start out doing the wedding business. Bachelorette was a good one for me. Don't start out picking something that someone's going to buy for themselves, because Etsy, while people go on there to find stuff for themselves, you'll probably make more money if you pick a product where someone is either like buying it for an event, like you mentioned, party decor. A lot of people are doing well selling like kids' birthday decor, or it could be like a holiday. So people in our course, someone is making wine labels, like holiday wine labels that you can put on a Christmas wine thing. When you go over to someone's holiday party, you like wrap it in a cute little like ho 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 Merry Christmas wine label, and someone would print that out at their house. Like holiday related things, event related things, those will probably sell better. Because wall art, while you can definitely do well with wall art, if you don't consider yourself like a graphic designer, people probably aren't going to want to buy your stuff and print it out and put it on their wall. You might have a few swings and a miss if you start there.
That's really true. Like I like that. Don't try to look for something that you'll buy yourself, but look for something that people have to buy for special events. Like my sister, she's in the kids' party event. I like that. Yeah.
And they'll spend more. Because if you're buying it for yourself, you're like, oh, I'm not going to spend like $12 on this. But if you have to go somewhere, you're like, let's just get this done. I'm going to buy this and we're going to go.
Love it.
So you got a lot of students doing this. What do you see for those that are doing well, those that are seeing success? How much time does someone need to allocate towards, seeing those types of results?
I would definitely call this like upfront work. So it's not passive income in that you have to do the upfront work. And if you're someone that you never did anything like this in your life, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve where you have to like learn the design tools, and maybe you need to learn like how to work with customers or things like that. But what I like about it is, compared to what I was doing with the tattoos, it's much less time intensive. And it's more like making sure that customers are happy with their order if they have any like tech issues, which usually, depending on, I guess that's a good point to bring up too. All of my printables are like really easy PDFs that you can just download and print at home. Don't make something super complicated that someone would have a tech issue if you don't have time to like help walk them through that. Because the average person typically does not understand like technology the same way that you might as making the printable. So go like super easy if you don't have the time.
So what about somebody that's doing this, of course, as a side hustle? Maybe they don't have a blog or a website where where they can promote it. What about marketing? Does Etsy do a lot of that for you? Like if somebody puts in a search, or do you need to really focus on marketing as well to get your name out there or your product out there for people to buy?
The benefit of going with a site like Etsy versus selling on your own is that they will show your stuff to their customers. If you have good ratings and your pictures are good and people are clicking through to them. So one of the ways that you can do that is through making sure that you have good keywords. So making sure that what you make the title of your product is what the person would be typing into the search bar in Etsy, and making sure that that first thumbnail that appears in the search results, make that look attractive. So if you're going to put extra time into anything, of course, make the product great. It's all about high quality products, but make sure that that first thumbnail is really great too, because if no one clicks and sees your awesome product, then you're not going to get any sales. So Etsy does have these mechanisms to showcase the seller's products. So, you know, what we found in the course, while this is not typical results, we've had people that have had like 2 sales in their first 3 weeks or first 2 weeks or first week. And Etsy, I think, does a good job of trying to serve up new sellers to their audience so that you're not like hidden with the other search results.
How important, I heard you talk about keywords. So how important is the store name of your Etsy shop? Should it be connected to like your bachelorette item? Is your store name, something catchy that people will know that it's attached to bachelorette, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I chose the swag elephant. I thought it sounded
Listen, I
cool.
like that.
Yeah, I wanted the swag queen and someone had stolen it. So the swag elephant was next. So I would just pick something funny that you think people will remember. Now, in the bachelorette space, it's not like I have regular customers who, they're like every month they're going to a bachelorette and they're like, oh, I should go check out the swag elephant. It's not a brand. But for people who sell like digital planners, they're more of a brand. So I think it's more important that you would pick the name. Like every year, someone will go back to your shop and say, oh, wow, I really like their planner from last year. I'm going to buy another one. It kind of depends on like what niche you decide to dabble in. But for most people, just pick something random that you think would be memorable and easy to pronounce. And I wouldn't stress out too much about the name.
Is there a particular niche that does better than the rest on Etsy?
Okay, so weddings, but I mentioned to not do that. But like weddings do really well. Anything related to like baby showers, bridal showers do really well. And I wouldn't discourage anyone from trying in those niches because they can be so profitable. Just put a little bit of extra time. If you have a friend who has a really good eye for design, like run your design by them and say, hey, is there anything that you're noticing? Some 3 tips of things that in the course that I see students kind of get tripped up on. They don't leave enough white space. If you're looking at something that's very attractive visually, you might notice that it has a lot of space like around the design. Make sure that you're not crowding all your stuff in there, that it looks like too crowded. And then from a font perspective, people on Etsy are kind of like unique. They're going on there because they want something a little bit different. If they wanted something a little more generic, they would go to another site to buy stuff. So don't pick like the default Times New Roman font. Like they want something like a little bit more jazzy on their printable. And then third, what I see people doing is they're not like testing out their printables before they list them on the site. So you definitely want to go through the process of like testing it out on your home printer if you have one, or if you have a digital product, like we mentioned the YouTube banners, you could do resume templates. That's kind of big. So like January would be a good time for people to do, people are like job hopping, getting a resume template up there. Make sure that you actually like test it out yourself, fill it out yourself, so that when you do list it, it's like really high quality and you get those 5-star reviews, because you don't want to list anything like and rush through it and you get a 1-star review because you didn't test.
So therefore, I'm assuming that the printables need to also be editable where people can actually type in them.
You can
As
totally
opposed
go
to
both
dra-
ways.
Okay.
So I have some that are editable, some that are not. The pluses of editable is that customers love to personalize. So let's say that I had a sign, like a bachelorette party sign that said, let people type in Jessica's bachelorette and the date. That would sell much better than a generic sign that had like bachelorette party this weekend and, you know, July 2019 or something like that. You personalize will sell better depending on the niche. But when you do personalization, you open it up to the customer to message you regarding tech issues. So I actually have kind of backed away from some of the edible designs because I would much rather make a little less and have no one contact me, as awful as that sounds. So like we mentioned, the spice jar labels for your kitchen. People are not probably going to contact you regarding that. But, you know, something a little bit more personalized, you can give them the option to personalize it. And actually there are some great, you can make it yourself and we teach you how to do that in the course, but there are also some third-party platforms. Cordial is one and Template is one, where you can let the customer edit it using their platform. But it still doesn't eliminate the back and forth of the customer. So I guess it kind of depends. Like you can make more money, people like it better, but it's more work for you.
Man, there's some good information you
Yes, it
dropping
is.
on us, Julie. So, I mean, if people want to dig into learning from you, because you clearly know what you're doing with this to kind of shorten their learning curve so they can start making money sooner as they're trying to figure this out on their own, can you tell us a little bit more about the course and how they can get started?
Sure. So I ended up making this whole thing with my podcast where a lot of us are doing printables. So I decided that I was going to make a video course with video tutorials just to kind of share what my experience has been and any tips that I have for people. So the course is through my LLC, Gold City Ventures, and GOLD. And we teach people how to get started selling printables, what to make, how to pick a niche, pretty much details on everything that we talked about in this podcast today. And also you get access to the community of other people. We have a couple hundred people now taking the course who are also doing it. So that's kind of the fun part, because when you're doing this stuff by yourself, it can be a little bit like you don't have the motivation to keep going maybe. But if you see every week in our Facebook group that someone is posting a new listing or they're getting all jazzed up, it kind of gets you motivated and jazzed up too. So we take everyone through a video course, myself and my partner, Cody, and we're super excited about it.
Awesome. You can find out the details at hisandhermoney.com/gold city, GOLDCITY, hisandhermoney.com/gold city. And we have the link in the show notes of this episode. And as we wrap up, you kind of just brought up a good point. Somebody might be saying, well, it's too late for me. Etsy's got all these people already selling. You know, how's anybody going to see my printable? How am I going to stand out? Is it too late? Is it too saturated? Or is there still room to make money on Etsy?
There's definitely still room. And I think that's an excuse that a lot of us always make. I know in college I was making it. I really wanted UGG boots. That was really popular. And I said, Uggs are over. No one wears Uggs. And you know what? Uggs kept going and going, and they're still going. Those things have not died as much as some of us have wished that they did. So when it comes to stuff like this, I think you don't let yourself like talk yourself out of trying it. Whether you're doing the course or you just want to try it DIY, like just take action, because you never know. Maybe you won't become a successful Etsy seller, but you may learn a graphic design skill and now you can offer freelance services. Or you might all of a sudden like save money if you go to your kid's birthday party or you're going to a bachelorette party. Now you know how to make stuff yourself. I would just encourage people to think about all the benefits of starting a side hustle and try not to discourage themselves before they even get started.
And I have one more question as well, because when I heard you say that you have other podcasters that are now doing this, what about, okay, so those people that may be already online, maybe they have their own business, are they choosing printables that kind of fit within their business, or are they really doing various things?
So a lot of people, because I'm in the personal finance niche, a lot of people that join the course and a lot of other people that have been successful through my influence are choosing to do money stuff. So for example, Kevin Jones, he was one of my first students. I had a mastermind as part of my podcast before I did the course. And Kevin, he has surpassed me. So I've made $6,000 on Etsy so far. Kevin crossed $10,000 in like 18 months or something. Kevin's crushing it. And his niche is, he goes all down on the money printables. So he has budgeting packets, and he has like debt thermometers where you can pay off your debt. I think him and his wife are like big Dave Ramsey followers, and that's kind of their angle. So he has done a lot in that niche, and he knows it very well, and he's very passionate about it. So I think to your point, like if someone chooses something that is their jam, they're gonna put everything into it, and it'll probably it has a higher chance of doing well than like random. But like for me, I don't really care about bachelorette parties. I didn't even have one myself, but that is a profitable niche. So you can go like your passion, or you can go one where you think there are a lot of people that are willing to spend money on things.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So if people want to keep up with you and find out what you got going on, where are you at on these interwebs?
Sure. So I have a podcast, Fire Drill Podcast, where I talk about financial independence and early retirement stories. So I bring on people that have achieved the goal of not having to work anymore, and they're often side hustlers. So if you want to hear some crazy side hustles, we have an Airbnb lady who makes hobbit houses. We've had people that sell like print on demand. We've had some crazy, awesome stories. So check out Fire Drill Podcast. And I also have a blog, millennialboss.com.
Awesome. Julie, this has been great. You dropped some nuggets on this episode that I know people are ready to take action on. Absolutely. So thank you for opening our eyes and letting us know about this way that we can all make some extra income to hit those financial goals.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.